Welcome to the LowCarbUSA podcast, where we seek to inspire you to help us build this community. I'm Doug Reynolds.
And this is Pam Devine.
Okay, so welcome, William Schumacher. Uprising Foods. You're the founder, CEO, big main honcho.
Yes, something like that.
You approached us as a potential sponsor to our latest Boca event, like literally, a few days before. And we ended up getting you in as a sponsor, but I don't feel able to give you, as much exposure and coverage as if you had been sort of, involved earlier. So I thought this might be a way to expose what you're doing to a bunch of people, because we thought it was a really exciting thing. So I'm going to leave it to you. Maybe you can just tell us your story, how you got to a point where you wanted to do something like this, and then tell us about these amazing products, because they're pretty cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, first of all. I really appreciate you sharing your platform and your listeners' ears with me. Little bit of background on us and what we're trying to do for those that, don't know about us. So Uprising is, we're on a mission to rebuild and reformulate the staple categories of food that people rely on, that fundamentally fuel our diets and our lifestyles. My central hypothesis and rallying cry behind this brand is, hey guys, people are getting a raw deal. The staples that we rely on, from breads to chips to crackers, things we build our meals on that bring families to the table, they are fundamentally broken. They're high carbohydrate formulas, they're highly preserved, and they're made from garbage. And from everything that I have personally learned in my own health journey and what I was brought up on from my parents' influence and everything, I know those are not the foods that people should be subsisting off of, but that's what they have access to. And so what our charge here is, what I'm trying to do for folks is, I want to take those staple foods that you are familiar with, that you rely on. I want to flip them on their head from an ingredients perspective. I want to make them low carb, loaded with superfoods, and I want them to have an extremely high nutritional value. I want paleo influence, I want low carb influence, I want high fiber influence, and I want clean ingredients. And I don't want people to have to compromise on taste. And so fundamentally here at Uprising, my theory is, people don't have to sacrifice on the taste side in order to live this pinnacle lifestyle. That shouldn't be the case. And we need to raise the bar on what these products can do. If it's a chip, it should crunch. It should be satisfying. If it's a bread, it should make French toast. And that part is really key, because that is the practical part. That is what enables these transformations to happen and make these lifestyles sustainable for a lot of folks. And of course, backing up to where this inspiration even came from, I had went on my own biohacking journey, and I was learning all these things that worked for me. And, I got my blood work totally dialed in and was running all these experiments, and I was giving my information to other people. And they were super inspired, and a lot of people started, but very few people were able to follow through. In fact, only one person was able to follow through and make it a sustainable lifestyle change. And I realized, it's a combination of information plus practical products that make this actual transformation possible. And so that was kind of the genesis for Uprising.
That's very cool. So you mentioned chips, which is pretty exciting. I think that was you very generously gave away like a whole year's supply to someone in our raffle at the end of the conference. But there's more than just the chips, right? Well, maybe you can describe each of the products and exactly what they are and why they're so cool.
Yes. So we started with bread, and we have a sourdough cube, we call it. And because our actual loaf is cube shaped, and it's sourdough inspired, but it's all nuts and seeds that make up the base almond flour, golden flax seeds, psyllium husk, apple cider vinegar, egg whites, and then saltwater baking powder. So it's a very short formula, very hard to make. So that took us over 6 months of R&D by pro artisan bakers, my co-founders, to get to an amazing bread. And we started with bread because we wanted people to first, from Uprising at least, have the product that is psychologically the hardest to think about giving up. Like the first thing you think about when you go low carb is, I can't give up bread. Like, I don't know how many people have told me that. It's too many to count from our customers. And so we said, okay, we need to tackle bread and prove to people that you don't have to endure that psychological burden. And you can make French toast, and you can make all these things, grilled cheese, everything that you are used to pre-low carb lifestyle. You can do it, and you can do it at a level that not only you enjoy, but the rest of the family enjoys. We didn't want people to have a caveat. Hey, this is mommy's bread or this is daddy's bread, but I eat this and everyone else gets the good stuff. So that was the first initial push behind the bread. Solve that, make people have some belief. Oh, I can make this happen because I don't have to give up bread. Let's overcome that for you.
So before you go on there, so this bread, it's available, commercially available. People can get it, right? Okay. Yes. So I can cut this bit out from now, but are you able to share your screen and show us a picture of it or something like that?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do that, and we can do that for the other products as well. Yes. I think that'll make it, for the people that are listening to just the podcast, they don't get to see it, but I'll post a couple of pictures in the write-up.
Awesome. Yeah, great idea.
But for the people that are watching video on YouTube, they can check this out.
Yeah. So I just brought some pictures up from our website, and for those on you on audio only, I'll give you a little description. But we really show you on our website exactly what this bread is, and how this is not a healthy bread that kind of imitates bread. And we show it in different scenarios. And you can see that this is a light, almost golden crumb and a legitimate artisan crust, but it's a denser bread. It's got some real meat to it, and that's meant to hold up in sandwiches. It's meant to be, something that you can use to hold a triple decker if you wanted, to make French toast. But it really looks like a mix between a artisan loaf you'd find at a farm market and a sandwich loaf that happens to carry all the classic dishes.
Okay, and just by the way, the website that you're talking about is uprisingfood.com, right?
Yes, uprisingfood.com. We ship all over the country, so that's the primary way to get the product from us.
All right. Okay. So let's hear about okay. So just to go back to the bread, I think what's so exciting about this is that the fact that you can toast it and basically do all of these things that so many people complain about, that this is what makes this lifestyle unsustainable, which to me doesn't ever really make any sense. But I'm not them. I don't have those issues. Some people are carb addicts, and so they, there's a lot of talk out there about the strategies to deal with that. But then there's also people that just like this stuff, and they miss it. And for those people, this is something that will be able to hopefully make this sustainable for them.
Yes.
So that's
two important things you just said, Doug, that I want to emphasize. One, this is a toasting bread. It is specifically meant to be toast. So that's one thing we always tell people: take it out, toast it. You're going to really see this bread sing. The second thing that I want to emphasize is, like you, I personally was not a person who needed bread back in my life. I'd given up bread for years. I had somehow found my way of overcoming that need. And what's interesting is it took about 6 months for me personally to find the magic of having bread again. And, I had access to all the bread under the sun when we started making Uprising bread, but I had become unfamiliar with what bread could do, how enjoyable it could be. Not that I needed it every day, but what are some of the awesome things you could do with bread if it met a very high standard that I personally was holding? And very short story, I actually found early on, I can make some meals for other people that is really enjoyable that we can all eat together. I actually ended up, before my wife and I got married, on her birthday, I made her grilled cheese with our bread as like the thing that she wanted for lunch on her birthday, because she loved it so much. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually delicious. Like this is refamiliarizing me with some of the awesome things you can do with bread. I took our bread and I made it for Thanksgiving. I didn't tell anyone what was going on with the bread. I used it for stuffing. I brought stuffing to Thanksgiving made from our bread. And, normally I would have either avoided the stuffing, or I would have, I would sat out, or I would have said, hey, this is going to be a cheat day. And so be it, because it's Thanksgiving. But this re-brought me back into, and I don't eat our own bread I don't eat bread every day. Now I do eat our chips every day, but it brought me into things you can do with bread. And then we have a huge amount of customers who are like that. We also have a huge amount of customers who, it's the psychological. It's just the idea of giving up so much so fast and switching so many things so fast it can be a barrier to succeeding or a barrier to starting. And that's a huge group of folks that we serve with Uprising.
Yeah, no, I see that big time. So tell us about the other one, the chips that you mentioned. That was a good segue.
Yes. So we actually call them the Freedom Chips. And the reason we call them Freedom Chips is, one, our actual brand is like Revolutionary War inspired, in the sense that we want to free people from a food system that is holding them back from achieving the health goals that they want to achieve. So we decided to name the chips Freedom Chips. And the chips came along off of the desire to solve for the sensation of crunch. So as much as bread is deeply psychological, there's also a sensation in the mouth of crunch that most people deeply desire. And this was the part that this was the product that I personally wanted. And this was the part that I personally missed. So when I would cheat on my low carb lifestyle, the thing that it was worth it to me was, I really want to be able to crunch something in my mouth. And I was like, I know that there's a lot of other people out there that this is the same thing that they need. And we worked for over a year to get to a chip that would deliver on the sensation of crunch, yet was only 2 net carbs and made from all the same quality ingredients that we make the bread out of. So it's actually very similar to the bread in ingredients. We have some patent pending processes and like old school secret family recipes that we've combined together in order to make what we make. However, on the chip side, you've got your fundamentals, your almond flour, flaxseed, psyllium husk, apple cider vinegar, egg whites. But then we've also brought oils into the equation. So we use MCT oil and we use olive oil on the sea salt flavor. And then we have only one other flavor right now, and that's savory rye. And over on the savory rye, we add a couple spices like horseradish in order to get the rye taste, coriander. But we keep those oils, and that really makes up the chip ingredient profile versus the bread. Same pinnacle ingredients. Again, 2 net carbs in these things.
That sounds awesome, man. It really does. I actually am jealous of the guy that won that prize, man. if I wasn't going to get called on rigging it, I would have actually drawn myself in that as the as the winner of that thing. That was a cool prize. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
You're very welcome. Happy to serve.
No, this is exciting. I really look forward to this helping a lot of people find this lifestyle more sustainable than they have up till now. And for anything that we can do to keep one more person on the bandwagon,
yes,
that's a job well done, really.
Yes.
Because, and you're going to get the purists and that say, oh, you shouldn't have substitutes and all of that, but and for some people who've really got an addiction, maybe that is something that they need to get out of their brain. But for most of us, I don't think that's the case. And so this is definitely an option for a lot of people. And
yes,
I think it's going to be a good thing.
There's so my background prior to Uprising is actually in consumer products. So I worked at Procter & Gamble, the mammoth, consumer products giant. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they taught us the intricacies of is how important it is and the science behind helping people with products in a way that you come alongside the natural habit change loop. So basically a consumer product, one of the fundamental principles they taught me was in a product that was dependent upon a fundamental shift in habit change or a new habit for a person was highly unlikely to succeed unless you had a $50 million marketing budget that could create the need for that incremental habit or change in habits. But if you could swap in a product into someone's already existing cycle that gets the person the benefit, their likelihood of success and the likelihood of that product success way higher. So that's part of what we're taking that science of habit change and saying, hey, lots of people are already eating certain things. How can we insert into an existing loop so that someone starts getting momentum in a direction? Then it becomes a lot easier to say, hey, maybe I want to take up intermittent fasting for a bit. Well, I've already got these parts of my daily habit swapped out. Now the total burden, which there's a real psychological and emotional burden when you start going through habit change, it makes it much more manageable.
So yeah, William, I think just to close off here, why don't you just tell people how it is that they can get this stuff? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have got they're sitting waiting on their keyboards ready to try and order something here. So tell them how they can order some and try it out.
So we keep it super simple. Simply go to uprisingfood.com. That's uprisingfood.com. And we will ship the product direct to your door. So one thing that's important for people to note is that we are not going through the traditional channels. We're not going through the traditional, hey, how do we get into Whole Foods? How do we get into all these retailers? And it's twofold, and it's really a benefit to the cause. One is because we don't want to make products beholden to how retailers make money. We want to make products the way that we believe the science should be for the end consumer. And so that's why we're laser focused on e-commerce, and we want to ship it to your door. Now, that also does require that it's a bit more costly for us to do that because, we have to pay FedEx, we have to pay, for infrastructure behind the scenes that retailers have already built, which is part of how they get their cost structure down. So we ask people to buy a little more at once than they're used to. So common question, how do I just get one loaf, or how do I get just one chip? We can't do that because we would never be able to exist as a company. So we tell people, go to uprisingfood.com, try the starter bundle. It's a sampler bundle. So you get all 3 products. It costs $48, and we'll get that out to you. We ship on Mondays. Then what we say is, if you love the product, come back to our website and go on one of the subscriptions or both of the subscriptions. We have the subscription of chips, subscription of bread. If you love the product, we always give we pass all the cost savings that we can onto our subscribers. So if you already know out of the gate, hey, I want these products, by all means, feel free to go to the subscription part of the website. There's tons of links to it, easy to find. And what our commitment is, which is very important, is as more people become customers and join this cause, we are actually able to turn around and renegotiate with all of the suppliers in the supply chain and say, look, we're bigger. We need to offer better pricing to people. So know that our commitment is actually to make this accessible and affordable to the masses. So yeah, we're definitely a little bit more premium than people are used to for these types of products, but it's also a fundamentally different product. But at the same time, when people commit to us on the subscription side, we are passing on all the cost savings that we're able to achieve. And later this year, we're going to be able to roll out even better pricing because we've renegotiated hard for 2021. So truly our goal is not to become the most profitable company necessarily. We need to make enough off of each order in order to keep doing what we do. But really we're trying to pass on cost savings to people so that these products are more and more affordable and we build up our economic power. Because that's one of the things that the big food, high carb, super cheap ingredient companies have is they've built up such an economy of scale that, you know, grains and wheat and all that stuff, it's super freaking cheap to make that stuff. Almonds, flax seeds, egg whites, that stuff is not cheap yet. But we believe that if more people get behind this cause and companies who are making these types of products, those prices will come down. And we know we are going to pass those prices on to folks, which makes it more people can get involved and the loop continues.
Yeah,
So,
you sound like
uprisingfood.com.
yeah, you sound like Darian Greeno from Keto Mojo. And
Yes.
he's talking about the same thing. His whole thing is to bring the price of those testing strips down. He got them down from $4 to under $1, and now it's down to 80 cents. And
Yes.
but it's all about scale, right? And so now they've
Yes.
moved into Europe and some other areas as well, and they found a way to package the strips where they can use them in all the markets, and all they have to do is change the box that they ship it in, because there's certain declarations, whatever, blah blah, that need to be different in the different ones. But that's allowed them to have the scale of that their main thing is the production of those strips, so that
Yes.
now they've got negotiating power to keep bringing those prices down. And you're kind of talking the same
Yes.
thing.
All
You also
of us,
talked about 3 products, by the way, but I only remember talking about 2. What's the third one? Or did you mention it and I missed it?
yeah, so we have 2 product categories, but so we have the bread and the chips, but within the chips we have 2 flavors.
Oh,
so
okay.
So we have the savory rye, which is very similar to the rye chip that you would find in the mixed bag that people will dig for, those rye chips. That's one flavor. And then we have our traditional sea salt. That's, your guacamole chip, your hummus chip. So 2 flavors on that side, 1 flavor of bread. We've got more things in R&D, more flavors we're working on. We'll roll those out probably later this year or early next year. But yeah, a lot more to come.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So yeah, thanks very much for doing this and taking the time to tell people about this. I think it's an exciting thing. And, hope now that I know about you, I think maybe we can try and get you in as a higher end vendor at our next event, and you can actually do a breakout talk and let people come
that'd be awesome.
and ask questions and stuff like that. I think
Yes.
that's the way we need to go here. So
That would be
thanks very
awesome.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. You've been listening to an episode of the LowCarbUSA podcast. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/LowCarbUSA.